got great width and is doing a good job carrying it back. So I'm excited to get those birds out here, put them out here side by side. Let's give all these kids a big round of applause. Great job.
All right, on this rabbit here, we're going to have some good depth body, some good shoulder midsection. If I'm going to change this rabbit up and you move that high point just a little further back, give it a little bit more roundness over that hip.
Get out here in this lightweight division, and I certainly think that there's four very, very deserving individuals out here. They're a little different in terms of their type and kind, and that's kind of to be expected.
Is to really start to grow those relationships, to get those kids involved at an early age where they're seeing the value of hard work and some of the lessons they learned before age.
Study her from the time she hits the ring. She just has an extra presence about her. One that's ultra stout down low at her foundation. She gets around on a sound set of feet and legs.
Again, for reserve, I still think it's close. And that barrel that stood second to our champion, we said those two, to me, the longer things wore on, there were two of them that were candidates to win that class, that heavy class.
This guy distanced himself pretty quickly, and the fact that he's got such a nice look to him, he's still powerful, he's way, way sounder than
I built this mainly for my grandmother because the old tailgate on the back is my grandfather's off of his 1976.
County Livestock Show. The things we do are because of the members that support and help the board put these things on.
Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We're so glad you could join us here at the Hays County Youth Livestock Show. This is the Sheep and Lamb Show that we've got going on. And the very first class that is up, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe this is the Milk Teeth Yearling. So, without further delay, let's get right to the show. And again, thanks so much for joining us and your support of these young people and their little athletes they'll be showing off today. We're glad you could join us.
A nice class of breeding sheep to start, and I'm going to go in here and realize there's some differences in terms of their maturity, on how far along they are in terms of their condition, and I'm just going to go and use the best livestock in my personal opinion. I think for me, the ewe that I'm going to start is the one that just built the most correct when we stand off to the side of them. When you talk about one that covers the ring and does so with the most fluid motion, I think it's the young man's ewe that I've got out front. I think she's more relaxed back in the angle of her shoulder and knee. I think she's more appropriate in the bend to her hip and hind leg. And for me, the big difference is her proportionality in terms of the center of her body. I think from her forerib back to her flank, and then from the top side of her shoulder back to her hip, she just offers more uniformity, just offers me a notch more proportionality when I step off to the side. Now, the trade-off is the ewe that rides here in second is easily more opened up from every angle. I think she's easily the widest, the boldest bodied, the biggest ended, the biggest muscled sheep that we've got in class, bar none. But for me, like I said, the difference is when we set them into motion and when we study this one from the side. She wants to be a little deeper there from the top side of her blade to the bottom of her chest in relation to how she sweeps back to her flank. I just like to drop down in her flank or shallower up in her chest and shorten the length of her shoulder just a little bit for me to really call that one the most proportional. But like I said, that's a big stout ewe with plenty of future and breeding versatility. The one that comes out in 3 kind of follows her in terms of type and kind, and that one may actually be bigger footed and have more muscle if we want to talk about those things. But when we talk about dynamic breeding females and those that can change the next generation, she just comes in a few more pieces when we step off to the side of her. Little lower tying in her neck. Really wants to get a little rough in her top line for me, just like to smooth her up at every angle. We worked down to some ewes here in the bottom and some breed differences, but the common theme within those 3 there is they just all need a little more for me to go and call those practical breeding stock compared to those that are ahead of them. Nice class of breeding sheep. Congratulations to all of you.
Class 2, south down to the holding pen, please. Class 2, south down to the holding pen, please. Results for our breeding class. Our champion, Ansel Markenthal. Reserve champion, Morgan Hernandez.
Now I'm going to start this south down off with the young man's ewe lamb I've got out here, and one for me that I think just puts the most positives together. I think when you study her off either end of her skeleton, she's easily the squarest and most genuine in terms of her build, just in relation to her being wide from the top of her shoulder to her knee to the ground and reads the same from behind. I just think there's the most product in that sheep, especially if you study her right there through the center of her body. Step off to the side, and while she may be a notch smaller in her kind, I still think that she offers a picture of balance and proportionality, and so she needs to win today. The one that comes out in next, the trade-off is this one's a little higher performing, a little longer growing in terms of his maturity pattern. And while I like the added shape that this one offers up high, I still think that one's probably a little more immature. And more concerning for me is just when we step off to the side, that one wants to drop a little more chest. He's a little more conventional and general in terms of the way that his underline reads. Just not nearly as elite from the side as I'd call the ewe lamb that stands directly in front of him. Some sheep down here in 3 and 4, I think that could be the right kind of feeding sheep. Just unfortunately today, those things run up against the couple that are a little more ready to go today. Just need a few more days on feed to maximize their potential. Nice class of downs to start. Congratulations.
Our results, Class 1, Southdown, Wesley Hernandez, first place. Madison Barbie, second place. Alyssa Tate, third and fourth place. Class 3, Southdown to the holding pen. Class 3, Southdown to the holding pen.
I think a really nice class of South Downs, and these two that I've got up here at the front, I think are totally different in terms of their type and kind, but I think that they're the two highest quality sheep. I'm going to ride with the young man's Weather out front that I think is just a notch more ideal in terms of his market readiness. I think he's more appropriate in his degree of finish. When we step off to the side of him, I think he's the one that reads longer growing. In terms of his maturity pattern, I think he offers just a notch more length of body and extension and balance compared to the sheep directly behind him. The trade-off is the young lady's ewe lamb that I've got out in second is the class outlier in terms of sheer power. That's the stoutest footed, the widest skeleton, and boldest bodied sheep in class. To me, that one's just a notch overdone in terms of her finish today. It kind of matches the rest of her body. A little shorter and more conventional in terms of her kind. Just don't read that one to be the big heavyweight market sheep down the road. Like I said, think that one might need to be trimmed up just a little bit for me to determine that one market ready and ideal in that regard. The sheep that comes out in 3 kind of follows suit in terms of just being a nice, practical kind of ewe lamb that offers some center body dimension. But it's when you step right in behind her, she still doesn't have as much as the two that are ahead of her. And more concerning for me when we step off to the side, that one wants to drop a little more chest and lower shoulder, cuts back up to her flank just a little. Here again, some sheep further down the line. I just run into some maturity issues in terms of just not quite being there yet. But keep trucking. I think they'll get there. Congratulations to all of you.
I need to remind all exhibitors, take your animal over and get your picture taken when you leave the ring, please. All exhibitors, go get a picture when you leave the ring, please. Our grand champion buckle for the breeding ewe today was donated by Sunset Construction and Excavation. Our reserve champion buckle donated by Lindsey Wright. Our results: Class 2, South Down. First, Barrett Collins. Second, Megan Hernandez. Third, Emma Adams. Fourth, Dane Duggar. Fifth, Isabella Kokmansky. Sixth, Dane Duggar.
I'm just going to leave them as they stand here in the order they came in. I think that the young lady's wether that I've got out front here just wins running away, quite frankly. That one's really, really nice. Huge in terms of his foot and bone work, and it only builds up from there. He's an outlier here in terms of his skeletal width, his body shape. One that still offers some proportionality and balance from profile. Just makes an awfully easy place to start. From there, there's some differences to sort through, and for me, I'll stick with the theme of muscle shape and roll with the one in second here. I think one that of the remaining trio just leaves you with the most touch and tone down the top side of his skeleton, especially right out of the back side of his shoulder. Might like to fluff him up at the edge of his loin just ever so slightly, and from a balance standpoint, we'd like to take that one and shallow him up in his chest. But from just a sheer muscle dimension and shape standpoint, comes the closest to the class winner. The sheep that comes out here in third is the one that offers the most extension, the one that looks the least like a Southdown in terms of his maturity pattern. He's big, he's up off the ground, he's long-necked. He's one that just wants to flatten out, especially there through his lower rib and skeleton. I'd call that one the most closed up of the ones in this particular class. He too wants to be a little longer in the way that his shoulder blade's laid in and designed in relation to being shallower back at his flank. The one that rounds out the class, a nice sheep in his own right, and probably offers some additional width and body compared to the two that are ahead of him. He's just far too soft for me today. Just need to firm that one up, add some more touch and tone. Just kind of hits me as the kind of plain one within this particular lineup. It's a nice class there with a real good winner. Congratulations.
Results, Class 3 Southdown. First, Morgan Hernandez. Second, Carson Schroeder. Third, Lily Oshire. Fourth, Kai Kokmansky. First call, Class 4, Fine Wool, to the holding pen. First call, Fine Wool, Class 4, to the holding pen.
I think that we get into the Southdown Drive, and there's certainly three class winners out here on the front. I'm dang sure proud of. I think that those sheep kind of exude quality, all kind of have the same typical mold. They're all extremely stout, extremely sound, and so you just kind of go in and break some differences in terms of maturity, in terms of just that added look and the extra bells and whistles. I think it really comes down between two, and I'll call one an outlier in terms of stoutness and foot and bone and body, and I'll kind of call the other one the more intriguing one in terms of the way he's built, but may not quite be all the way ready today. I'm going to take one more look. I'll show you the two I like, but congratulations to all of you out here.
Class 5, fine wool to the holding pen, please. Class 5, fine wool to the holding pen, please. Our results in the South Down. Breed champion, Morgan Hernandez out of Class 3. Reserve breed champion, Barrett Collins out of Class 2. Our buckles. For the South Down, the champion buckle donated by Will and Rhonda Covarrubias. Our reserve buckle donated by Wembley FFA alumni.
Quality class of finals here, and I just puts the most good things together, and it's a young lady's weather I've got out. I think for me that's the one in terms of his maturity. It's most evident when you get your hands on him. When you work back there at his loin, I think is where he has the dominant advantage. The fullest, he's the fresh guard. Then you step off to the side of him. I still think he's the one that puts you a neat proportional picture together. And out of his hip and hind leg. Really like that one when we get him in motion. The one next might have just more shape. I'd side of his shoulder. But like wants to get a little more uses Hawk and Pastern. I just like to offer that one with a little more flex for me to go. I think for me, that's just an immature sheep that kind of ran into some that are a little further away. And from a balance standpoint, rigid and tightness, so I think you'll have a bright, nice class, though. Congratulations.
Results, Class 4, fine wool. First, Madison Barbie. Second, Barbie. Third,
The combination sheep in this class wins fairly easily for me. The young ladies, whether we're moving out here towards the center of the ring, I think is the one that from a build and balance standpoint just really dominates this particular class. I think he's the tallest at the point of his shoulder. I think he's one that maintains himself the most proportional from his forerib back to his flank and still maintains himself extremely functional when we set him into motion. Muscle-wise, while he may not be the class leader in terms of just volume of muscle, I think shape-wise it's laid on his skeleton extremely well, makes an easy place to start. The one that rides in second follows him in terms of type and kind, just a lengthy sheep that has plenty of extension, especially up front. For me, that one just kind of wedges the wrong way, wants to be a little deeper in his chest and gets shallower back to his flank. The big muscled sheep's the one that rides here in 3, and I'd say that one's got a class advantage in terms of just power. That one's got a lot of shape up high. He just comes in a few more pieces. He's a little rougher in his spine, pinches a little as he hooks from his loin back into his hip. Just like to smooth him up in his transitions. Paint me just a little neater picture from the side. Nice class of finals, though. Congratulations.
Class 6, fine wool cross to the holding pen, please. Class 6, fine wool cross to the holding pen, please. Our buckles for the fine wool class today, donated by Robin's Closet. Robin Rippey Scott, the champion buckle, reserve champion, Hill Country Wastewater Services.
I think a real good champion drive of fine wools here, and both of these class winners here on the front line I certainly think are in contention. They're extremely similar in terms of their build as we step off to the side. To me today the difference is that there's one that's just a little more ready to go, a little more ideal in terms of his market readiness. The heavy will be your champion, the light will be your reserve. Congratulations.
Our results in the fine wool drive, our breed champion, Cameron Medley. Our reserve breed champion, Madison Barbie. Class 7, fine wool cross to the holding pen, please. Class 7, fine wool cross to the holding pen, please.
I think I got a nice class of crossbred sheep here, and for me, the one that wins does so quite easily. And while he's not without fault, I definitely like to free him up out of his hip and the way that he moves and give him just a little more reach and flex off his hind two as he goes. I still think he makes a logical place to start. And it's primarily because he offers the most genuine width of anything in class. Study him off either end of his skeleton, he's easily the most opened up. He's got the most body shape. You get your hands on him. I think he just further distances himself as the one that offers the most shape and dimension up high. Now, the one that comes out in second's a nice sheep in his own right, and I'd say he follows the class winner the most closely just in terms of his proportionality from the side. For me, though, that one's not an improvement in terms of structure, and he's one that wants to get a little flatter there in his upper forerib for my own personal preference. Big, stout-legged sheep that comes out in 3, and you certainly have to appreciate what he's setting down to his foundation with. But for me, he comes in a few more pieces from the side. He's a little lower tying in his neck and offers a notch more chest, and then when you get to his hip, he wants to roll out of his dock just a little more. Nice class of crosses, though. Congratulations.
Class 8, fine wool cross to the holding pen. Class 8, fine wool cross to the holding pen.
Oh, there's just an overwhelming product difference here within this top pair of sheep, and that's why I'm going to use the ewe lamb. Just overwhelming in terms of the amount of just natural width and dimension and skeleton that one offers. She's easily the boldest in her body and the biggest as you step right in behind her. Now, she's probably a little smaller in her kind than I prefer, and still like to free that one up as she moves. But I think the differences in body and just overall mass are too great to overcome within this particular lineup. Now, the alternative is the big wether that I've got out here in second, and this one's way more up off the ground, longer necked and longer bodied. Still like to modify that one from a structure standpoint as he wants to get a little steep in terms of the way that his dock's designed. Like I said, while this sheep's got some shape up high, just not nearly as much dimension as the one that's directly ahead of him. Sheep that comes out in third, I think, follows in terms of type and kind. As a sheep that's got some center rib dimension, has some proportionality from the side. When I step right over the top of him, that one wants to wedge just a little much back to her pins. Just like to pull that one apart and set her down a little wider as she goes. The two sheep down here probably still just a notch more immature in their overall makeup, but certainly some that have the potential to feed. Nice class of crosses. Congratulations.
Well, friends, while we have a minute, I want to be sure and thank all of our sponsors. Ranch 1111, Germania Insurance, Hayes City Store, Kindred Hospice, WorkQuest, West San Marcos Dove Hunt, Prestige Gunnet, Lamar and Amber Crossland, Dr. Glenn and Mary Lou for that Rydell Scholarship, Joe and Chris Burke, and I'll thank some more here in a minute, but we better get back to the next show.
I'm going to leave these sheep just as they stand here again. And I think if you want to sort them on skeletal width, they'll sort this way. If you want to sort them on proportionality, they'll sort this way. If you want to just sort them on completeness, they'll sort this way. So I guess that means this one's just a clear-cut winner up here at the front. Easily the sheep that's the most ideal in terms of his structural makeup. His feet and legs all point the right way. They all set down extremely square. He's one that you step off to the side. He's proportional, and then you get your hands on him, and he makes an easy place to start. The one that most closely follows him is the young lady's Weather that's here in second. And between 2 and 3, I'd say she's easily he's easily more dimensional right out of the backside of his shoulder. Just touches with more tone down the top side of his skeleton. Now there's a big long-bodied, long-necked sheep that rides out here in 3, and that ewe lamb there has some value, I think. But for me, just runs out of gas from a skeletal width and dimension standpoint to go ahead and ride up there with the other two. Nice class of crosses. Congratulations.
Okay, little housekeeping here. Class 6 Fine Wool Cross. First place, Madison Barbie. Second place, Clayton Engler. Third place, Colton Engler. Class 7 Fine Wool Cross. First place, Hudson. Second place, Brady Barbie. Third place, Cameron Medley. Fourth place, Lexi Ebner. Fifth place, Mackenzie Geeson. For our Class 8 Fine Wool Cross. First place, Morgan Hernandez. Second place, Presley Geeson. Third place, Melania Hurtado. Our buckles donated for the Fine Wool Cross. Our champion buckle, Jordan and Kimberly Blount. Our reserve champion, fine wool cross buckle, donated by Ben and Terry Brown. Class 9 Dorper, make your way to the holding pen, please. Class 9 Dorper, to the holding pen, please.
A great drive of fine wool sheep here, and there's certainly plenty of differences in terms of type and kind, the differences in terms of maturity pattern, differences in terms of finish today, but that's to be expected this time of year and when we get in these weight ranges here. I think for me there's probably a sheep out here that just fits me the best in terms of his maturity pattern, in terms of his look and balance and muscle and how he puts it all together. Then I think the decision for reserve gets a notch closer between a sheep that I think's built a little better with a little longer growing maturity pattern or one that just kind of overwhelms that decision in terms of muscle. I'll go out and get you a champion. I'll study him one time for reserve, but congratulations to all of you.
Breed champion, fine wool cross, Morgan Hernandez. Our reserve breed champion, Hudson Young.
Well, again, friends, want to take just a minute to thank some more of our sponsors: PMI, Pipe Steel Supplies, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, Independence Title, Bentley's Firearms and Indoor Range, Cunningham Orthodontics, Capital Farm Credit, and Ozona Bank. We've got some more, but let's get back to this class of what do we got here? What we got? Dorpers. Class number 9, I believe. Dorpers.
Class 10 Dorper, to the holding pen.
Nice class of Dorpers we've got to start here, and I'm going to use the weather that I think for me is the most ideal in terms of the way he's put together. He's the one that's the most opened up. He's the roundest bodied. He's the biggest ended. Most importantly, when I get my hands on that one, he's got the most shape and dimension and just squareness down the top side of his skeleton. Now, if I'm going to change that one, I'd sure like him to be just a notch smoother in terms of the way his hide touches today. He's got maybe just a notch more wrinkle than I'd like. But I think that's the square-built, good-bodied sheep that still balances up the best in class. The one that I'm going to use to follow him is one that actually may have more muscle mass than the class winner, actually. He's not as shapely, but he does have more mass, especially when you step in behind him. He's one that's a little more compact and conventional in his overall kind, and that's probably why he's just a little further along in his finish today. Just like to smooth that one up in his chest to maybe trim him up in his bottom line for me to go on and use. Nice ewe lamb that comes out here in 3. I think she's one that may have the most neat pieces from the side in terms of her proportionality. I think she's the neatest from her forearm back to her flank. She's the flattest in terms of her hip. For me, that one just gets far too plain on the touch, especially compared to those ultra ripped up class winner. The ewe lamb that comes in 4, she's got some terminal merit and some shape and dimension, especially when you step in behind her. But her problems come when we set her into motion. I just one that really wants to stab her hock, never really flexes her hock, never really uses her pastern. Just like to free that one up and give her a notch more flexibility from behind. Nice class of Dorpers, though. Congratulations.
Our results, Class 9 Dorper. First place, Ellie Kirky. Second place, Annie North. Third place.
Well, a couple more sponsors we want to be sure to mention: Southwest Erectors Jim and Peggy Jansen, Texas Beef Initiative, and Odell Equipment. I believe there was one more that came in late this afternoon that unfortunately I wasn't able to get the logo up for. I'll look that up here in a little bit and see if I can't pull up. Wait just a second here. I may have it right in front of me. Nope, I'll keep looking, but again, appreciate all of you sponsors for all y'all do for these kids and for all of us getting to watch.
Now, this black-headed Dorper I'm going to use to win up here, I think does so quite easily, and that one just looks the most like a show sheep out here. I think in terms of his proportionality from the side, that one's unrivaled, and when you set him into motion, it's more of the same. Everything just blends extremely well, from his shoulder into his neck, then back from there back. He's easily the most tucked up and uniform in terms of his underline. He's flat-backed, he's flat-hipped, but still operates extremely functional out of his hind leg. While he may not be the most overwhelming in terms of power, he's got way more than enough. He makes a real easy place to start for me. He starts to get into some tougher decisions here as we work further down the line. The white one that comes out here next, I think, is probably the class outlier in terms of his bulk and build in the upper part of his skeleton. I'd call that one the roundest in his upper forerib, and accordingly, that one opens up the most dimensional in his rack and back to his loin. Problem is that one just comes in a few more pieces from the side. It's a little easier in his top line, wants to round out of his hip just a notch for me. Big time shape here in the one that rides in 3, especially when you study his hip. I mean, that one's got some outward turn and some curvature and some side view shape, and he definitely liked that about him. I guess for me, he gets a little too high and tight in his spine, and then right behind that where his loin hooks into his hip, just got to fluff that guy up, need to square him up at his loin edge for me. A couple sheep down here that I think are just pushing a little too much finish for me today. Just like to trim those two up for me to go ahead and work up in class. Real good class with a nice winner. Congratulations.
Our results, Class 10, Dorper. First place, Kylie Davey. Second place, Elania Hurtado. Third place, Seth Herzog. Fourth place, Rainey Mendez. Fifth place, Lily Alshire. Class 11, medium wool, to the holding pen, please. Class 11, medium wool, to the holding pen, please.
A good class or division drive here of the Dorpers. And for me, this deal's getting to be a lot of fun. This Dorper deal's come such a long way, and we're starting to make them where they kind of look like show sheep now. I think there's one out here that just goes above and beyond in terms of skeletal quality, build, and balance. I think there's a nice one for reserve that has those stereotypical Dorper parts of just added power and dimension and muscle. The one out of your heavy will be your champion. Will be your reserve.
Our results in the Dorper. Breed champion, Kylie Davis out of Class 10. Reserve champion, Allie Kirky, Class 9. Class 12, medium wool, to the holding pen, please. Class 12, medium wool, to the holding pen, please. Our buckles for the Dorper class, for the champion and reserve champion, donated by Barbie Ranch, Shane Barbie.
Now the ewe lamb that wins here wins easy. She's the only one probably in class that I'd call far enough along in terms of her finish to be labeled really market ready. But then when you really break that one down in terms of her skeletal tangibles, I think she just offers the most. That one's the stoutest in terms of her foot and bone work. From there up, I think she's the most proportional in terms of her forerib back to her flank. I still think that one's the class outlier in terms of skeletal width. Just makes sense to use one like that in this contemporary group. The one that follows her most closely is the young lady's Weather that I've got out in second. And from a shape standpoint, I'd call that one the class leader. And just from a terminally driven deal, you have to appreciate how much bulge she's got out of the backside of her shoulder. Just touches with a lot of tone up top. But when you break that one down, that one's still probably a notch thin for me. Just not nearly as smooth from the side, not nearly as dropped back at his flank to add a little extra proportionality. Still probably a little more rigid in his hock compared to the one that wins. Kind of the same story for the sheep that comes out in 3. Just one that offers some length and extension up there through the front third of her body. She's flat-shouldered. From there back, that one just needs to be a notch more relaxed everywhere. Wants to kind of ride up in her spine just a little bit, a little rougher in where her loin hooks back into her hip. Just like to modify her in those regards. Kind of a big, powerful sheep here in 4. probably has as much center body as anything besides our class winner. I'd like to call that one the practical market sheeping class, but that one just hits me a notch too plain. It just doesn't offer nearly as much shape up high or from behind. Just gives me a little more conventional look as I step off to the side. Some sheep that we work down here, I just need to bulk up, just need to get a few more days on feed to go ahead and max those out. Nice class to start the blacks, though. Congratulations.
Our placings for Class 11. Katie Hartman to the holding pen, please. Now, Katie Hartman, your class is going in the ring, medium wool. Katie Hartman. Our results. Class 11, medium wool, first. Analia Lombardo, second. Paige Smith, third. Isabella Diaz, fourth. Vanessa Ruiz, fifth place. Ashlyn Brinkley, sixth place. Penelope Soto, seventh place. Jose Benjamin Soto.
Well, as we get a little chance to thank some of these sponsors here, Ranch 1111 comes to mind. So does Germania Insurance, Hayes City Store, Kindred Hospice, West San Marcos Dove Hunt, Prestige Gunnet, WorkQuest, Lamar and Amber Crossland, Dr. Glenn and Mary Lou Rydell, Joe and Chris Burke. And just like that, Medium Wool Class 12 is up next, so I'll take that down for you. And shut my mic off and let you hear what's going on down there and maybe a little music to go with it. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Class 13, medium wool. To the holding pen, please. Class 13, medium wool. To the holding pen, please.
This weather I'm going to lead off with, that's just good stock right there. That one kind of gets me excited, especially when we set him into motion. I just love that guy when he takes off. So big and stout in terms of the way that his feet and legs hit to the surface. He reaches out and grabs his stride. He's so proportional as we step off to the side of him. Then he gets your hands on him, and I still think he's the sheep to beat. Just ties everything so neat, so stout, so sound, makes an awfully logical place for me to start. And that's not to take away from the sheep that's in second, because I think this one could stand some competition and just kind of runs into a buzzsaw here with the sheep just ahead of him. The advantage is this one probably offers just a notch more length of body, if that's something that you're into, and I do like that about him. I think he's one that as you step off to the side, there's some center line balance there. I mean, from his forerib back to his flank, I think he can rival the winner. On either side of that, he starts to run into a few more balanced things. In my own personal opinion, he wants to sit just a little lower in his breastplate, a little rounder to the lower part of his shoulder. Probably doesn't tie, although his neck is longer, I don't think he ties it in as high at the top side of his shoulder. And if we're going to get real critical, that one wants to roll just a little bit out of his dock, just ever so slightly. But a good sheep to ride there in second. The shapeliest sheep in class is the ewe lamb that I've got here in third. I love that one's touch. I love that one's hide. Just when you get your hands on them, you have to appreciate that one and start to gain some credibility there. I guess for me, she's just a little more compact, a little more conventional when we step off to the side of them. She's a little plainer in her look, maybe gets a little high and tight right there in the center of her back. The one that comes out in four, love her length, love her extension, love the elevation that one offers from every angle, just runs out of gas. These things here, big time stout, that one just kind of runs out of gas and maturity for me. Some sheep down the line, just like to stouten them up, make them a notch more burly to go ahead and ride up any higher. That's a nice class, real good pair up top. Congratulations.
Our results. Class 12, first place, Analia Lombardo. Second place, Ansel Marcantel. Third place, Haley Ronshausen. Fourth, Katie Hartman. Fifth, Ronan Crab. Sixth, Maddox Marr. Seventh, Paris Gonzalez. Eighth, Lexi Ebner. Ninth, Clayton Engler.
Well, again, while we have a minute, let me thank some more of our sponsors: PMI Pipe, Steel, and Supplies, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, Independence Title, Cunningham Orthodontics, Bentley Firearms and Indoor Range, Capital Farm Credit, Ozona Bank. We appreciate you guys and all your support. Also, I was able to pull up the latecomer. Tell us. Jensen Phipps, thank you guys for sponsoring these kids in this event, and here we go.
When you exit the show pen, please go get your picture taken at the big blue tarp. Curtain, whatever it is over there. Please get your picture taken. Class 14, medium wool. To the holding pen, please. Class 14, medium wool. To the holding pen, please. Anastasia, ambule to the holding pen, please. Anastasia, to the holding pen, please, and bring your sheep.
A really solid class of sheep. And the ewe lamb I'm going to drag out here to the front, I think just has the most ESTs. That one's the stoutest down low, the boldest body, the biggest back, the biggest ended. I think is the best balance when we step off to the side. Now, is she maybe just a notch quicker in her kind, maybe a little smaller in her overall mature size? Maybe. She's on the line for me, but love her balance, her proportionality from the side. And to go ahead and add it with all the mass and power that she has makes a logical place to start. The one that comes out here in second, I think has some potential in the long term. That one I would read extremely bold in terms of his foot size. He's huge down low. And if that one will just go ahead and swell up top and grow into that stoutness, I sure think that one could be extremely nice. He's one that's got some boldness to his upper forerib. He's got some mass and dimension up high, and as you step in from behind him, love his squareness of build off either end of his skeleton. That one's kind of dealing with a few skin issues today, and maybe surely not as fresh as the one that's directly ahead of him. And then if you really study him in terms of balance, I'd probably like to pick that one up in his breastplate just a little bit, just tuck him up in his chest and make him a little run uphill just a little bit more. I like a lot of things about the sheep that rides in 3, and when they first hit the ring and that one starts to move, you really have to appreciate that one's functionality and just flexibility as he covers the ring. If I really want to brag on his build, though, I probably can't, because I'd still like that one to proportion just a little better from the side. That one wants to get just a little longer in his shoulder, wants to shallow back to his flank just a little bit. But a big-time heavyweight sheep with plenty of touch and tone up high. Love the terminal merit and shape that the sheep in 4 offers. I think that whether there's got as good a skin and touch and handle as anything that we've got in class. He just kind of put together by committee as we step off to the side of him. A little lower tying in his neck in relation to being a little rounder in the lower side of his shoulder, maybe a little more rigid in the way that he uses his spine, and a little shorter out of his dock. A nice class of sheep to sort there. A real good winner up top. Congratulations to all of you.
Southwest Directors Jim and Peggy Jansen, Texas Beef Initiative, and Odell Equipment. And as I mentioned to you just a few minutes ago, we picked up another one, Tell Us, and Lord willing, tomorrow we'll have that logo on there as well. Jeff's going to stop by the trailer late this evening. We'll do some recording of these just to have them fresh for you tomorrow instead of hearing me all day. But Jeff Dodd, man of the hour, he'll be in here afterwards, and we'll get some recordings and have those ads for you tomorrow. Well, that's going to lead us into the medium wool class 14, and they're lining up at the fence here, so I'll hush up and let you hear some music and check these sheep out and these kids and their hard work. Thanks again for supporting them.
Class 15, medium wool, to the holding pen, please. Class 15, medium wool, to the holding pen, please. Class 15, medium wool, to the holding pen.
I'm going to leave them as they stand out here, and I certainly didn't expect to have to think this hard today. These top 4 or 5 sheep in this lineup are awfully, awfully good, and you could probably cut this 74 different ways and come up with your own synopsis of how these things look to you, and I probably couldn't argue with you. And so I know there's going to be a few people with their feelings hurt over the deal, and I'm just going to tell you how I read them because that's how I think they've got to be lined up today. I'm going to start with the blue ewe out here, and I think one that to me is the most dynamic as we step off to the side of them. I think she's the one that maintains herself the most collected, not only on the brace from the side, but when we set them into motion, she's the one that's the hardest for me to punch a hole in. I think she's extremely well presented. She's one that offers the most proportionality from the side. She's the most unique in terms of the way she's constructed and the bottom side of her forerib, and from that location back to her flank, she just offers the most proportionality and balance from the side. Then when you step on either end of her, I still think that she ranks in the top 1 or 2 in terms of just genuine skeletal width. Actually, she's number 1 in genuine width. I'd say from the top side of her skeleton to her foundation, she is the most honest. She's the most genuine. She may not have the most, but she's the most genuine and honest in terms of her skeletal width there. And when she has the proportionality and balance to go with it, she makes the place for me to start. Now, the big wide skeleton, big muscled sheep's the one that rolls in second. That one's the stoutest, the most cracked open, the roundest bodied, the biggest back, the biggest ended, and I certainly see all of those things. When I step off to the side of that one, actually when I get my hands on that one, I question maybe if that one just got a notch much on him in terms of finish. He's not soft up high, but I think of that one, lower part of his rib, strikes me as just a notch overdone in terms of finish. It planes his bottom line up. He doesn't blend nearly as smooth as the sheep that's directly ahead of him. Just a hair shorter there from flank to flank in terms of his proportionality. The sheep that comes out in 3 from his hip forward, I think that one can win. I like that one's body shape. I like that one's touch and tone up high. I'd call that one the best skin sheep that we've got there in the top 4. His problem for me is when I step off to the side of it, that one's just not genuine enough there in the upper side of his hip. The upper side of her hip, excuse me. She's just a little plainer pinned, a little more conventional in the way that she operates out of her hip and hind leg. Like I said, though, from her hip forward, like that one as well as anything in class. The one that comes out in 4, I think kind of reminds me of the sheep that's in second up here. Big, wide, burly, stout, all those EST things that you want to talk about in terms of just good, productive, practical market livestock. For me, that one's structure's not good enough for me to roll any higher. That one's hip and hind leg just doesn't work, and it's primarily his hock. He just gets a little sharp to the angle of his hock and then hooks it back in. That one's got a little more chest, got a little more shoulder, just doesn't balance up as well as the sheep that are ahead of him. I think that's an outstanding top 4. Lots and lots of differences to sort. Kind of pick your poison there and go for it. I sure won't argue, but that's how I like him today. Congratulations.
Our results, Class 14, medium wool. First, Riley Steinecke. Second, Amanda Alderson. Third, Morgan Hernandez. Fourth, Jenny Falls. Fifth, Addie Fee. Sixth, Angelina LeBert. Seventh, Taylor Whitworth. Eighth, Mackenzie Whitworth. 9, Anastasia
A difficult class to sort here. I think there's a lot of nice sheep, but I think they've all got some things that I'd like to modify just a bit. The one that I'm going to use to win, I think, is the one that overwhelms the class in terms of terminal shape and just overall width, the skeleton, and stoutness. That one's easily the most opened up underneath. He's the boldest there through his center body. And I think when we get him in motion, although that one does want to get a little tight in the center of his spine, I think that one's the one that uses his hind leg the most appropriate compared to the that are behind him, or is the most ideal out of his hip anyway. The one that comes out in second, I think, is a little bigger in his kind. He's a little more up off the ground. Love the length and extension that one offers. I love how he's just a little cleaner there in his underline compared to the sheep that's just ahead of him. For me, that one's just a little staler in his appearance and his touch. Not as good in terms of his hide. Gets a little rough back there at his loin edge. Wants to roll out of his hip. But do love the stoutness that one offers and the proportionality from the side. The one that comes out in 3 here, I like the terminal shape of, and from a handling quality standpoint, and in terms of finish, I probably like where this one's at as well as anything. She's an awfully nice ewe lamb. When we set her into motion, I think she gets a little too plain in terms of her hip and hind leg. Don't like her right there at the top of her upper hip. Then she just wants to get just a little too much set in the way that she operates out of her hind leg. 2 sheep down the way, just got to bulk them up to go ahead and compete with these ultra stout ones up towards the top. Nice class of sheep. Congratulations.
Our results for Class 15 in the medium wool. First place, Amanda Alderson. Second place, Anadia Lombardo. Third place, Megan Hernandez. Fourth place, Megan Crabb. Fifth place, Camden Crow.
Well, as they're gearing up, folks, for the champion drive, I want to thank you again for tuning in, for supporting these students and all their hard work, their families' blood, sweat, and tears to pull all this together. Just a reminder, tomorrow we'll be coming on the air, Lord willing, 9 a.m. with the Breeding Swine Show, and that's followed by the Market Swine Show. Also at 11 a.m. Oh, by the way, that first show will be on stock-show.live, and then at 11 a.m., again, if things go well, Poultry Show on fbg.live. That'll be on our secondary channel there, fbg.live. My name is Paige Finley. Appreciate you guys tuning in with us today. My daughters and I have enjoyed getting to spend some time with you, showing you guys these animals and these, well, speaking of, here they come, so I'll hush it and get back to it.
Attention in the lamb barn. I need all breed champions and reserve breed champions to the holding pen, please. All champions and reserve breed champions to the holding pen, please.
A really impressive set of medium wool sheep here in this lineup, and I think that there's lots and lots of different ways that you could go about this, but I think it really comes down to the 3 sheep in the middle here on the front line for me. I think there's a lot of good in all 3 of those. They're all at different stages of development, but I think they've kind of got the common theme of those that are just put together a little better, those that get out and move the best. I guess it just comes down to a few personal preference things. In my mind, some little minor nitpicky things that we see when we get out here in this particular lineup. I'm going to go out. I'll grab you a champion in reserve, but congratulations to all of you on a nice job today.
Try to sneak in one more quick word of appreciation. Ranch 1111, Germania Insurance, Hayes City Store, Kindred Hospice, West San Marcos Dove Hunt, Prestige Gunite, WorkQuest, Lamar and Amber Crossland, Dr. Glenn and Mary Lee Rydell, Joe and Chris Burke, PMI, Pipe Steel Supplies, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, Independence Title, Cunningham Orthodontics, Bentley's Firearms and Indoor Range, Capital Farm Credit, Ozona Bank, Southwest Directors, Jim and Peggy Jansen, Texas Beef Initiative, Odell Equipment, and a latecomer that just came in today that we're grateful for, Tellus, Tellus. All right, friends, well, that is all of our sponsors, and we are getting set for the Grand Champion Drive here for the sheep that's coming up next. They're lining up at the gate, and as soon as they start to walk through it, we'll bring it to you. Thanks again for tuning in, everybody. Just a reminder again, tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., Breeding Swine Show here on stock-show.live, and then at 11 a.m. Poultry Show. Tune in and watch these kids do their thing.
Oh, well, first of all, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the staff here in Hayes County for having me back for my second year of my contract. It's been a lot of fun, and I've looked forward to this throughout the year to come and evaluate such good stock. You guys have a great program here, so hats off to you, and thanks to all the show officials for putting on a smoothly run show. It sure makes my life a lot easier. I've kind of broken all these sheep down. I think that they're all high quality and represent their breeds extremely well. I think that there's a pair of them out here that just kind of fit my mold a little bit better. I'll go out, I'll grab you a champion in reserve. Congratulations to all you kids. Be sure to thank your buyers. Be sure to thank your parents, your ag teachers, and county agents because we couldn't do all this without them. But congratulations to each of you for making it back out here, and thanks for having me this time again.
Okay, good. We are going to let the judge take pictures with some of the award-winning sheep. Then we are going to start with senior showmanship.
Well, would you look at that? We were able to get that on there. Tell us, John Deere. We sure appreciate you and all of our sponsors that have made today's broadcast a possibility. We had, wow, what a day it has been. We're not done yet. We still got the showmanship coming up, and it'll start with the senior class, then we'll go to the intermediates, the juniors, and finally the Clovers. We'll round things out. But it has been a full day of stock show. Started with the rabbits this morning and also the goats. It was a good day. Those are in our archives if you're interested in going back and looking. We had some audio issues early on, but ironed those out after a little bit. But those are in our archives if you'd like to go back and watch those shows. We appreciate those that tuned in this morning and took part in those. As I mentioned, the judge, or as you may have heard earlier, one of our hosts mentioned that the judge is, well, you can almost see him over there in that the corner of your screen there on the right side. Judge is over there taking pictures with the winners. And so as soon as that wraps up, they'll come back over here. You can see them start to line up for showmanship. And that will conclude our day today. And then again, we start tomorrow morning with the breeding swine show, followed by the market swine show. That kicks off at 9 in the lower arena. And then the poultry show up here in the main arena begins at 11. And just a reminder, that poultry show is on fbg.live rather than stock-show.live. Stock-show.live will be carrying the swine show. So thanks again for joining us and supporting these kids and their families and making this a possibility. Hope you enjoyed it. By the way, I don't know if you're watching on a computer or a smart gadget of some sort, but if you're on a computer, there's a little chat area on the right-hand side. You're welcome to give shout-outs there to some of the kids, just words of encouragement and support to the staff of Hays County here that's made all this possible. So anything you'd like to say there, feel free to do that. But of course, keep it encouraging, so we'll keep it on there. Otherwise, we'll pull it down, but I don't expect any of that to happen. Anyway, mainly just wanted to thank everybody and give you an opportunity to support these kids some more. All right, well, that's it for me, and we'll get right to the showmanship show as soon as everybody's ready.
Okay, our grand champion in the Lamb Show, Miss Riley Steineke. Our reserve grand champion, Analia Lombardo. All class champions and reserve champions, you must go to the vet room to be tested. After showmanship, all class champions and reserve champions must be tested, or you will not be entered in the sale. Attention senior showman in the lamb pen. Buckle donated by Balboa Memorial Foundation. If you have shown a lamb and have not had your picture taken, after showmanship, please go and get your picture taken with your lamb, please.
I talked about it in the GOAT show earlier today, and showmanship is an awfully tough thing for a guy to have to come in here and sort because we're solely judging these kids and what they do, and that makes it awfully tough. And this is a great competitive set. I think there's probably 4 or 5 of you showmen out here that approach that elite status and really have what it takes to go out at the next level and really get one stuck. And like I said earlier, as a breeder, that's what you look for in the showmanship deal. If you had to send your best one in the ring with one kid on the head, who would you have show it for you? And that's kind of what it comes down to when we get out here in the heat. I've watched these kids all day. I know which kids stand out. I'm going to walk by one more time, give them a look. I'll pick you a champion senior showman. Congratulations to all of you, though.
Attention in the lamb barn. Junior showman to the show ring, please. Junior showman, your way to the holding pen, please. Our 2000 junior showman in the lambs, Riley Steinecke.
Great group in intermediates here. 2 or 3 that standouts out here. And right, there's one showman out here in particular for me that just goes above and beyond and is so makes it look quite easy. The young lady up here. Congratulations.
Our intermediate showman is Hello, showman. Make your way to the holding pen. Over, showman. Make your way to the holding pen.
All 3 of these young ladies do a really outstanding job and get these sheep out here and get them presented and put a lot into the game. I think one of these young ladies here just really gets out and flat out gets one stuck. The young lady at the front.
Our junior 2022 showman
I told these two young men here they better watch out. Those girls in that older division are going to have to watch out for these two boys here for the years to come. They both do an outstanding job. I think one of them's probably just gets a little more brace out of one. Probably does a little better job with some eye contact. The young man at the front will be your champion. Congratulations.